into the big news. Blake, you're a Packers fan.
Yeah.
And it looks like Aaron Rodgers wants out. It looks like he wants Brian Gutekunst out. It looked like there was a time on Thursday that he might have become a 49er. Talk to me about this entire Packers situation.
Yeah. All right. So let's just start from the origins of this. So we're going to talk about how this all came up. So the Packers traded up in last year's draft, 2020 draft, for Jordan Love. Now, they didn't tell him about this. So that was kind of a surprise. Even with the Bears told Andy Dalton that they were trading up for Fields, but they did not tell Rodgers about this. And then into this offseason, he wanted an extension, and they didn't want to extend him. Maybe due to age, maybe due to the Jordan Love pick. Don't know. And then the day of the draft, Thursday, this report comes out that Aaron Rodgers is done with the team. He's simply not coming back. The 49ers offered a king's ransom for him, the number 3 pick, and then future picks and players, Jimmy Garoppolo included. So he also said he thought he was gone. He thought, he thought he was going to be a 49er. And he said he told them to take the trade. They didn't. Obviously, he's still on the team. And now he has a wish list of the 49ers, Raiders, and Broncos. And then this is where it really got crazy, I think, is when there started becoming reports that the Denver Broncos the deal is just about as close to being done as it can be. Like, this is in the works. He's gone soon. Watch out for this trade during the draft. And then there was following reports saying that they never discussed a trade with the Packers and that they were just focused on the draft this whole time. So you see that, you literally see, one side of the spectrum to the complete other side, and you're like, okay, that's crazy. And Mike, this is a quote from Mike Tirico. So he actually talked with Rodgers, and Rodgers was saying how he's a little upset with the rift that was going on. He apparently didn't want this to all be public, although it seems to be like it kind of came from his camp almost. Or maybe it was just media clicks from Rob Demovsky, who is the main Packers reporter. And he basically, to summarize the quote, he said, he never wished this went public. He expressed that he loves the fans, franchise, and city. And then Demovsky has said that Aaron Rodgers, there's a less than 5% chance he plays for the Packers this upcoming season. And that Rodgers has told multiple teammates that he does not want to, that he's not coming back, basically. So that's crazy. And then here's from the other side. This is what Rodgers said 3 months ago. Sorry. Just going to summarize the quote here. I don't think there's any reason why I wouldn't be back in Green Bay. And then also when talking to Pat McAfee, he said that he is at peace with the whole Jordan Love situation. Okay, so that is like just everything basically. And so here's my takeaway. I think it's a little overblown from the media, just generating clicks, particularly with the whole Denver thing. The fact that some people are saying the deal's almost done and other people saying they haven't discussed a deal is like, how do you possibly have those two statements? I don't get that, but I do think there is definitely a tension, obviously, between Rodgers and the front office with the extension, with the Jordan Love situation, and then with them also just like not committing to him for the future. So yeah, that's my everything. I've kind of rambled here, and I don't think he'll get traded. They've declined trade offers, so I really just do not think that will happen. Especially due to the cap hit. If they trade him before June 1st, there's like over $30 million dead cap hit. So like, why would they ever even consider doing that? I don't think they would. And then there's
go ahead.
Just one last thing. I know I've been going on for a bit, but there's another thing saying Rodgers said it's either him or the team has to decide to stick with him or GM Brian Gutekunst. And it's like, that's the ultimatum. And I'm like, okay, if that is true, that's pretty crazy. So yeah, I think it's at the end of the day, there's a tension there that's clearly evident to the extent I don't think the media really knows. That's bottom line.
You don't think the media knows. And
I don't think
your prediction and your gut feeling on Rodgers, whether he gets moved or not this offseason.
Yeah, I don't think they know whether he's actually getting traded or not. I don't think he will be traded. It would have to be post June 1st, like I mentioned, and there even in the next few years there'd be cap hit for him. So it just doesn't make sense that they would do that. So I do think there's a tension. I don't think he's going to get traded, though. They've declined trade offers for him. I mean, including the third pick. Like, if they really wanted to get him off their hands and the third pick's at play, like, you'd think, okay, I'd take it.
So from what I understand, reading about the situation, that nobody has been able to even make an official offer. They keep turning down calls. So if anybody calls about Rodgers, they don't even let them make an offer. They just say, nope, he's not on the table. So do you think that the Packers eventually fold? Because they're in a tough spot, because it looks like Rodgers is thinking about possibly retiring and just going into his Jeopardy career.
No, the Jeopardy thing too is like, he's had a great time with Jeopardy. He's stepped away from the game a little bit and is like, I'm getting paid a lot of money to just host Jeopardy. Like, this is a pretty good gig, and I don't blame him. Like, that sounds awesome. But I do think he will play this upcoming season from what we've gathered so far. The team is definitely not going to trade him from what it sounds like. They said they think he's going to be here. There was a presser, and a lot of the questions were about that. And I think the front office did a really good job of like handling those questions candidly and, providing good responses back. So, attention's there. I do think he'll play this upcoming season. I really hope he doesn't retire. That'd be a bummer. I really hope he doesn't get released or traded. But yeah, I think this probably his last year is my thoughts. Do you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, so
what is your perspective from an outside the Packers?
There's a lot to unwrap here. You kind of covered, right, the basis of why they're beefing and all of that. It's very clear that he's still ticked off about them drafting Jordan Love, as he should be. It wasn't the same as the Packers drafting Aaron Rodgers with Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers was projected as a top 5 pick in that draft, and he fell to the Packers. Jordan Love was projected as a bottom 12 of the first round pick.
Yeah.
And the Packers went up and traded to get him. That's a little different. So that's one thing where I say Aaron Rodgers has 100%, like, his anger, his him being upset in this situation, in my opinion, is 100% valid. In regards to the tension and whether he plays, I'm with you. I just think the Packers will ensure that they won't trade him. I think, look at Seattle and Russell Wilson, right? That beef was steaming high. People thought Russell Wilson was going to get traded for sure. They said Chicago was right there, ready to make a trade. And now people are saying that the beef between Russell Wilson and the Seahawks has subsided and they're ready to go for next year. I think something similar could happen to the Green Bay Packers. I think the other angle is that I think Rodgers just being I think he's a little more salty of a human being. I think that he kind of wanted to stick it to the Packers. I just won MVP. You did this to me last year on draft night, so I'm going to do the same thing to you and see how you react. So I think there's a little bit of that going on. Ultimately, do I think Rodgers finishes his career with the Packers? Absolutely not. The writing's on the wall, and it's been on the wall since they drafted Jordan Love. I do think he stays this year, and I think because I think teams will be prepping to try and take on the money that he's getting paid in 2022, and the Packers need a year to kind of be flexible and shift money and make sure that they can unload him. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. I don't think it's as black and white as Rodgers wants to trade so he can get out. I think that's part of it, but I think there's a lot more variables involved here, and I think that this year it's not going to happen. But 2022, man, it's going to be fun to see you with Jordan Love on the field and, finally not having a Hall of Fame quarterback and knowing what it's like, what other fandoms have to suffer right through.
There. But yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I didn't even mention, I talked for like 5 minutes, so obviously I forgot something, but the Seattle Seahawks thing with Russell Wilson, I wanted to bring that up too. There was tons of stuff about how, the Bears they're definitely going to get him, the odds for the trade, they were taking them off betting sites. The Bears Super Bowl odds were shooting up, making you believe that it'll actually happen. And then you've come to find out that it really was not that close to happening. And when you look at the dead cap hit, like a team's not just going to eat 30 million and just waste the season pretty much and not compete at all. Like that would just be crazy to do. And that's what would happen. And now that I think, most of the teams have either drafted their quarterback, like the Niners. Do you think the Niners would still trade for him? Because they would have to get rid of Trey Lance at this point, and they just took him 3. Now the Broncos didn't draft a quarterback, so I think he would probably that's still the place. I think if he were to go, would be there. Is that in the fact that they still don't have a quarterback?
So selfishly, like to me, even I'm sorry, like Trey Lance, ton of potential. Yeah. Whoever they drafted, whether it was Trey Lance, outside of Trevor Lawrence, whoever they drafted, I'm ready to ship him off, even if it means only 3 years of Aaron Rodgers, because I believe so much in Aaron Rodgers and Kyle Shanahan together that I believe that they would win two out of 4, 2 out of 3 Super Bowls. I think they're that good, and Rodgers is still playing at a high level, and the level Rodgers is currently playing at right now, I don't expect if Trey Lance has a 48 touchdown, 5 interception season at any point in his career, the Niners like hit beyond gold, because that's one of the great quarterback seasons in NFL history. So for me, it's a no-brainer if Rodgers is available. I just think the Green Bay Packers, no way, no how, would trade Aaron Rodgers to the 49ers. There's no way Matt LaFleur would give Aaron Rodgers to Kyle Shanahan. Yeah. So that's where I think Denver comes into play, and a lot of people said Denver's the most interested. I think Denver makes a lot of sense if you look at their weapons. If you look at their team, they've got a really, really talented defense for next year. Yeah. I don't think people realize how much talent's on that defense, especially when you add Patrick Surtain. That is probably the first or second best secondary in the NFL. So I think Denver makes a lot of sense. We'll see if Denver actually ends up pulling the trigger. But I think ultimately, if I had to guess based on the teams that are interested, I think Denver is the team to look out for. And they're in a division with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. So however good Drew Lock becomes, however good you think Drew Lock could become, whatever, he's never – I don't think we could say he's never – I think we can say he's never going to be either of those two guys. No. So you need a quarterback that can look those guys in the eye and win that division for you, and that's where Rodgers comes into play.
Yeah. Definitely. And yeah, along with that too, that division is just like loaded with quarterbacks. If they get Rodgers, the worst quarterback in that division would be Derek Carr, which is
a top 15 quarterback.
Actually insane. It's insane. I mean, you really have, I don't think I can remember a time, maybe this past year with just the names in the NFC South, Matt Ryan, Breeze, and Brady, but those guys were all way older than these guys. So it's crazy.
Maybe like 15 with MVP Cam, basically still like 40 touchdown, 10 interception Drew Brees, and like 30 touchdown, 10 interception Matt Ryan. Maybe that's the closest. But, man, it would be arguably the greatest quarterback division of all time, because I think when you look at what the teams are doing, like Kansas City just had a hell of a draft. Like their offensive line went from the worst in the NFL to now they have a top 10 offensive line with the addition of Zeus Brown, Joe Tooney, and Creed Humphrey, who I thought was a good pick. And the Chargers just continue. Tom Telesco is one of the best drafters in the NFL, and I thought they had a great draft in terms of getting Rashawn Slater, and they had a good free agency getting Corey Linsley, so they put talent around Justin Herbert. And then you look at the Raiders. The Raiders.
They're kind of the
right. But yeah, so I mean, you look at the talent around these quarterbacks. I think the ultimate thing is that like in order for the Broncos to win, they need a guy like Aaron Rodgers.
Yep, I'm totally with you. So this whole thing's crazy. I think we can go to the bottom line here. I think he's gone after this season. I do think he'll play. And guys, the media has been wrong a ton of times. Like this whole Mac Jones to the Niners thing. There's that. There's this Russell Wilson. He's gone. Well, that didn't happen. I do think there's tension. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Aaron Rodgers, this is all, rainbows and butterflies, but it's definitely a lot worse than I think some people saying he's gone today,
Look, and I think that's the point, right? The timing. You have to look at the other variables just besides the reporting, the timing of this, right? He has to be moved post June 1st. So basically what you're kind of left with is that for this year for the Packers and for this year for Aaron Rodgers, it might be just best to stick it out one more year, try and win a Super Bowl. The Packers roster is a little better, I would say, this year than it was last year. Actually, a decent amount better. I thought they've gotten better through the free agency and the draft. Amari Rodgers brings a Randall Cobb type element back to this offense.
Great comparison.
So I think that it's going to be best for him to try to win it this year. He likes his teammates, obviously. He likes to be beloved in Green Bay. And then for both of them, it would make sense to move on. Because this year, with the money and all of that, it's the same thing as the Russell Wilson situation. He might want out. Seattle might be ready to trade him. Teams might be willing to trade. But just everything has to make sense. And I don't think it makes sense.
And then one more thing with that. If he were to leave, do you think the Raiders or the Broncos are even in remotely the same condition, like team structure-wise, as the Packers? Because I would say no chance.
I think the Broncos are a better team in terms of roster outside of the quarterback. I think the Broncos are better.
I would say the offense isn't close. Like the O-line's not comparable. Packers is way, way better.
Yeah, but I would say the weapons
is better. Our running backs are probably better. And our receivers are
maybe.
And our receivers are just as good too.
No, they're not just as good.
Devontae Adams is the best out of the bunch, but Broncos have.
But you go Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick, who I know you love, and then you throw in the fact that they drafted Javonte Williams. Melvin Gordon has been looked at as a top 10 running back at times in his career. Garrett Bowles is no slouch in their offensive line.
Yeah, but the rest of their line is not anything.
You are riding on the assumption that the Packers line is going to continue to just find middle and late round gems and play them, because they did lose Corey Linsley.
I mean, they did. Yeah, I mean, they did. They develop. I still think their line will be better than the Broncos. Running backs is debatable. I think you're right on receivers. The Broncos have a ton of awesome receivers.
And then defense, come on. Defense is here.
Yeah, their defense is better. But would you rather have LaFleur calling the plays or the Broncos OC?
Shermer?
Yeah.
I mean, if I could just get Rodgers to the line of scrimmage with those weapons, I mean, McCarthy can be successful with that, so why can't Pat Shermer? He succeeded with Case Keenum.
I mean, oh well. I'd rather have LaFleur probably, but
yes.
No straws here.
Yes, definitely. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you're right. LaFleur is definitely better. I just meant to go from the standpoint of like Aaron Rodgers makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So